Yeah, so today's kind of like a workshop, but we're mostly going to be also talking about basically Mary turns her camera off because she's eating. I was hoping to get that on recording. Um, yeah, we're mostly going to be talking about the branding. This is for realtors. This is for mortgage lenders. I mean, anyone just kind of more in our real estate industry. But there's a couple things, in my opinion, with branding, and this is where I think anyone can kind of chime in and give their input to. But branding is there's branding, which is like I create this logo, my color scheme is this. When I post stuff and I create marketing material, this is the flow. This is how it always looks. This is my color scheme, right? Because our company has branding, but you as individuals, I think, should always have branding. Like I have a loan officer who she's getting her license and she's looking to join, and she was saying, hey, do I get a company email? And I just really encourage that she buys her own domain, because like we can get her our company email, but at the end of the day, you want to have your own email that's branded to you. It's good to buy. It's like $6 for your own domain. You can get it set up through Gmail. You can get it, set up through Gmail, if you buy it through Google, and that way it's just branded to you. But the other thing is, if you ever were to leave a company and you advertise that email to people, you want them to be able to find, still contact you. Like my first company was with Coldwell Banker, and I sent. I gave my business card out all the time to people. My flyers were everywhere. Well, I had a Coldwell Banker email. So when I left, I'm like, well, shoot, hopefully people call my phone number or text me, because that was at least on the flyer and the business cards, but my email was with the company. So that's why we don't provide emails for anyone, but it helps with branding. So branding is your own design, whatever. But I think where people get confused is people get confused, like, what is a brand, right? And a brand is really just who you are. But there's branding, and brand awareness. So brand awareness is, how am I showing people, telling them, marketing myself? How am I getting my brand out there? Because I can have like the most beautiful branding, right? I knew someone who, love her to, she's a great realtor, great friend. She got so focused on like creating this email signature that took her like almost like, I want to say, a week and a half, because she wanted to get this special, like a certain type of like cursive on her thing and whatever. And it's like, I think that's great, but at some point you're spending too much time on what it looks like, but you gotta also at the same time put the same amount of effort into the awareness, right? Telling people who you are. On the flip side, like my house, I every once in a while I'll get a realtor who mails just a piece of paper, trying to solicit business, and it looks like they probably are trying to set up a farm, but the branding right on that piece of paper is just it's just kind of crappy. So the thing that I'd be careful of is, you want to have a good combination of both, right? You want to be good at creating good branding, right? Professional pictures. I create good marketing material. Canva is amazing at creating good marketing material that you can then put on things like Vistaprint, where it's plug and play. There's not a lot you have to create yourself. So that's branding, but then brand awareness is like, who am I marketing to that I should be expressing who I am, right? So if I'm showing people who I am, like I can be goofy, but let's say I'm trying to market to lawyers because I want to work lawyers for some reason as my clients and referral partners for whatever it is. Well, I should probably have all of my branding set up with me in a suit, me that like I'm not copying their style, but right, I'm targeting them specifically, right? If I want to work teachers and people with families because I have kids in schools, I'm constantly involved in a school, that is my brand awareness strategy. Then my branding needs to be family oriented, dogs, family, like spring events, activities, right? Hopefully this is making sense to everyone. This is where you start to realize like, okay, my brand needs to be like the niche, but it also like, what is the target my brand is trying to reach? Like if I'm Dylan Wynn and I'm a young guy, I'm in school, all of my branding stuff has got to make me also try to look as professional as I can because I am younger, right? Here he is younger, he is inexperienced, he is in college, but he can tailor fit his brand to help like mitigate that and distract people from that. Right? You have Damari's, she's a mom, she's also Spanish speaking. A lot of her brand should be about Spanish speaking and about, her family because, because that is her. But then you want to make sure that you figure out, hey, does she want to target a lot of Spanish speaking clients because she wants to help that community, not just Spanish speaking clients, right? Fair housing. But right, if that's what she's going to do, oh, hey, and then she walks in. Right, then that's where she should brand. So like Nate said it the other day, he was like, oh, my new CRM, and he means because he's working at the hospital, and his new, like, all of his branding should be about, as a physical therapist, I do this and this and this. That's his brand. I'm a physical therapist and I'm a realtor. I work at the hospital, so I know what you go through. I can relate to you, but I'm also here to help you on your real estate side. Yeah. Hi. Good to see you in person. We'll talk about things that they don't get to hear about. Yeah. The real niche stuff. No, just kidding. Anyone have any comments or things they want to share about that? Mary's been going to a lot of the PCAR events and stuff. Do you have anything you've learned?
Not about branding, no.
No. The other thing is finding someone to an extent, right? I mean, a thing I think some people fall victim of is they go on social media and they see this realtor has a ton of followings and their videos have gone viral or something, and they say, well, I want to copy that person, and so they start to copy those style of videos. The things you want to look at is like, what with your brand awareness, so you telling people is like, what are you trying to accomplish, right? Do I just want people to, am I trying to get views on my video, or am I trying to get leads, right? At the end of the day, I think we're all trying to close deals. We're all trying to get as much business as we possibly can. So when my brand awareness strategy has to be, right, Nate, it's, hey, I'm a physical therapist, so I understand how you hospital workers work. I can relate to you. I'm here to help you on your real estate side. As a physical therapist, as a hospital worker, we can make a little bit more than the area median income. So therefore, our tax base is a little higher. Here's a good tax strategy on buying real estate. Did you know you can deduct this stuff from your taxes? As a healthcare worker, I didn't know that, right? So that brand awareness side, it's huge because it's going to help you create a message that you want to tell people that gets you business, right? It's not just showing people, hey, here's my cool color scheme, right? And that's just what I think everyone has to think about, okay, what's their niche, but who do they want to target? Who do they want to go after? Like Dylan, have you ever thought about who you would like to get as clients? There's something you're drawn to.
I guess right now it's more of whoever I can.
Yeah, and of course that's always going to be a part of it too, right? When you're new and you're starting off, you just take whatever you can get, for sure. There's, a lot of people will put they always try to set up farms, right? Where they go to a neighborhood, they pass out flyers, they send mailers. Most people give up on their farm because it just takes a lot of time and dedication. Your social media, your email marketing, um, this is all your farm, right? People are your farm, like the communities you want to work with. Like Damari's here, speaks Spanish. She should definitely get very involved with any type of specific Spanish speaking groups, because historically, unfortunately, no matter, I mean, they just added in your real estate courses more fair housing training because they're just an underrepresented and under helped. Like the amount of people I've heard, oh yeah, I bought my first house, I didn't speak a lick of English. My 10-year-old was the translator. I mean, what 10-year-old understands mortgage terms and can translate from Spanish to English, right? But that's unfortunately just the situation a lot of times. So that is, a group to go for. Dylan is involved, and he just said, he's at Sierra College, wants to go to Sac State. I mean, the long-term play, right? And if you're someone who wants to think long-term versus I just want to be in this industry for 2 years, what's going to happen when people graduate? I mean, there's going to be a certain amount of people who are, tech, engineer, lawyer, CPAs, medical professionals that I would be doing whatever I can right now if I was Dylan to network with all of them, make friends with all of them. So when they graduate and they get their good jobs, they're going to be ready to buy houses and they're going to be the ones making a good amount of income, right? And he's kind of tapping into them now. That's a long-term play, but obviously then they have coworkers too, that when they get to their job and they talk to a coworker, you might feel like, oh my gosh, I'm inviting a bunch of college kids to a lot of our events where they just get wasted. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. But you can invite them. I don't care. Right. But I'm going to invite a lot of these college kids because I want to build a network with them. And I want them to keep looking at me as the real estate professional, because when they graduate and they get their jobs, they're going to start talking to people and they're going to, they're going to talk highly of me because they know that this is what I've been all about. Not only do I have a license now as Dylan and I'm out selling houses while I'm in college, but I'm also still going for my degree where I can do whatever else. And people are going to look at me as, the professional. And part of your brand, of course, is you have to own whatever it is, your situation, who you are, right? I just talked to a loan officer this morning, or a kind of loan officer. She's just waiting to get fully licensed. And she was telling me, her question was, what do you say when people ask you, are you new? Or have you ever done, how many loans have you done? And I said, well, people don't ask that. I mean, you're just assuming people are going to ask that because you're new. And that's so common. The thing is you just need to learn how to talk confidently. Like what's the thing that makes you stand out from other people? Like, hey, I don't have any deals, so I'm going to dedicate a lot of time to you. Right? If I talk to people, I'm going to say, hey, listen, I'm here all the time. My brand is that I will, like when I first got my license, I had so many clients that said, if it rings more than once, I think that there's a problem because you answer your phone so fast. Now, heck no, I do not. I probably will not answer the phone the first time they call. But initially, like that was almost the level of confidence I could portray to people. And they never even asked, how many deals have you closed? Is this your biggest transaction? Things like that. So your brand can also be something that you're using to pull away from things like, hey, I'm new, I haven't closed a lot of deals, right? I'm a specialist in first-time home buyers. I've watched all these videos, I've done all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. Like that's my specialty. And I can talk, so like I know everything about your minimum down payment, what grants are available right now, who's a good lender to work with. I know the exact cost, closing costs to include home inspections, like how to save you the most money. And so I'm really good with first-time home buyers, and that's my brand, but I can talk so confidently about it that no one's going to question me. That makes sense?
I have something to add if that's.
Yeah, please.
So like you mentioned about, well, there's a couple things. Like you said about the long game, right? I think that that's something that's like really easy to get overwhelmed with and get distracted with. And like, I think that's something that I'm sort of leaning into now. It's like, okay, yeah, it'd be nice to make money right this second, but really the goal is to like, it's always building the brand, building your name, getting in front of people. And that's a lot of why I've been going to PCAR lately. I kind of, when I started going regularly, I'm like, I'm not totally sure what I'm doing. But now that I'm there regularly, it's like it makes a difference when you're consistent in anything, right? So it's like just getting your face in front of people, even if you're too shy to talk or to network right away, which I kind of am sometimes, but it's like people start to recognize you, and then you start to meet people slowly and you start to make connections. And it's like what Dylan can do with like all these people in college, you know, it's like just stay consistent. And the other thing was the education part, which I'm getting out of a lot of the PCAR classes, and I'm starting to do a lot of webinars and stuff, is the more we learn, and it's not just about, oh, the market this or the rate that or the anything, right? It could be, you know, it could be about, like one of the classes I got a lot of information from was it was like a buildings and permits class. And they talked a lot about what's going on in Placer County and what new neighborhoods are coming in and how many neighborhoods are coming in and what are the challenges with affordable housing in in Placer County, and how does that conflict with California? It's like there's so many things that we can learn and educate people about. It doesn't have to be so pigeonholed into one thing.
Yeah.
And I think the more you know, the easier it's going to be to add those things to your brand, to add those things to like your videos, which is something else I wanted to say, which was I think it would be cool for all of us, because I know a lot of us, it's not that easy to do videos and it's not that easy to understand the editing and the script and practicing and all that stuff. Like if we did a day like Media Mondays or whatever at the office where we could help each other.
Yeah.
You know, we could come up with topics that might be good to talk about. Like Nate, who works with, you know, investors, and Chase, who works with an investor now. It's like, learn about the ADUs, learn about, you know, how can an investor make more money? Or if someone's going to buy this property, how can they make more money? Or just those little things I think add up to the bigger picture, to the longer game. And now's the time to do it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, so like on our company podcast, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be bringing on account executives from a lot of these lenders. And I'm picking a product, a loan product, let's say fix and flip loan. I got a call from a lender who's like, that's what we specialize in. I said, okay, well, we're setting up a podcast and YouTube series. I'd love for you to come and just talk about it. Not just like you're talking to a loan officer, but like you're talking to a client as well, because it's going to do two things. One, it's going to teach me about the product. It's going to teach our other loan officers about the product. It's going to teach our future loan officers about the product. So not only do I get experience, but then I can also put that on social media and start to build that brand. I do think education should be everyone's big focus on branding. Like right now, I'm not sorry. The news is a bunch of BS, and there's just so much weird stuff going on, and you have no idea what's real, what's not real. I get people all the time who are like, hey, shouldn't I buy a whole life insurance policy because I can take money out from it to buy my house while it still grows? I'm like, well, you don't take money out of your whole life insurance policy. And that's the thing, is it's like people watch these videos and it's not like it's just not true. There was one that came out that it said this guy he's in Monterey, California, and he said, oh, sellers are not going to be allowed to pay for the buyer's agent commission anymore. And this is like right when the lawsuit was first announced nationally. And I mean, the amount of comments, it was like, why would you ever say that? That is not in any way accurate. And so why say, you know, and so it's just you being able to be a resource of information. And I know a lot of people feel like, Chanel's here. Oh, I'm not, I don't know anything. That's when you find things to learn, right? If you're on Instagram and you hear about something and you can ask, hey, is it true that, like I called my friend who's a financial advisor and I said, hey, is it really true that I can get a whole life insurance policy and I can then take the money out and use it? And he goes, no. That's the thing. People say that you can use it as, you can leverage it. So you can hold it up as collateral. Let's see, someone's here. So you can hold it as collateral, but no, that's not true. Hey, Chanel.
Hi, Dolores. Hi, Jenna.
Hi. Yeah, so I think learning about anything, you don't have to necessarily go to PCAR. I mean, there's tons of CAR has a lot of courses. I don't want to necessarily do that, but we also have mortgage people in our industry. And I do think that the part in our industry where people get the most confused, I don't think it's the home buying process. I honestly think it is, I mean, somewhat inspections and stuff, right? Like, what happens if something comes up wrong? Well, hey, you can cancel and get your money back except for the cost for inspections, right? And teaching people that. I mean, you got to look at if I didn't know anything about anything, like what would I be the most confused about? And it is typically the loan side. So all of us learning something together, you can sit down with Mary and say, can you teach me about a product, a loan product, that's what we call them, that is really good for first-time home buyers. She can then go through and teach you all about a product. Then you two sit down and make a video about it and educate. And I like that. Media Mondays. I'm adding props to our media room, and we're going to have these like cool colorful lights. You can add whatever background you want so that it's just like tailor fitted to you. And we've got a green screen. You'll just want to use your cell phone. I've got kind of like a selfie stick, and then we have some couches and stuff coming here soon. So yeah.
It's nice space.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
Something else I was going to add, if you don't mind me interrupting you.
Yeah.
About the education thing. So like you and I have obviously talked about this, but we haven't spoken about it with everybody else. But like, I mean, we're both like so willing to share information, you know, like I'll go be the one to go to PCAR and like take notes, and I'm more than happy to share everything that I learned with the group.
Yeah.
And I feel like it'd be cool if everybody kind of did the same thing too. Like if you have a transaction or just a general question or a thing you'd want to learn about, like we can learn about it together. Like I love research. I love like all those detail things, you know, like it doesn't have to be any one like I don't want people to feel like it's just one person having to take it on for themselves. It's like we can collaborate, we could talk about it, we can learn about it together, like you say.
Yeah. That's part of why we got the office, so we can all be in person and collaborate. I mean, our culture is definitely, yes, because we've been all virtual, I'm typically the only one talking, but for the most part, I mean, I think all of you, even most of you watching the recording, are going to agree that our culture is very collaborative. And when we do events, I always hear you all talking to each other and sharing ideas and going out door knocking together and doing this and that. So yeah, I mean, if someone goes and they learn something from somewhere, bring it back and share it. Like Adrian is doing a lot of, passing out hangers and door knock.
Hey, Cameron.
Here. Yeah.
Kind of like what Mary just said, I think it would be cool for us to, each person that has an active transaction or just closed, maybe share a little bit about what went well, what was more challenging, what they learned, because each transaction is so different. And I think like learning by doing, but the more that we can all share, like you said, Mary, would be good. Like I know each of my transactions, each of Nate's transactions, which I mainly know about, Cameron, who I see, but like you can learn something from each transaction. If we could share, that would be helpful. Yeah.
That's why, we do we have Discord so everyone can share things. I wouldn't be afraid to ask anything either. Like, hey, I'm running into this situation. I mean, you guys can of course call me. Sometimes I like to say, hey, can you also, even though I just gave you the answer, please ask the group, or please like write about it in the group message. Because I remember when I was new, I made myself sound like such an expert because I would say, I have seen this happen. Like I had a client ask me about the seller disclosures. They say, well, did I really have to put this? And I said, well, here's a situation I have seen. And she said, whoa, your client went through that? And I was like, oh, actually, no, it wasn't my client. Hell no. It was this other person's client because they failed to disclose this. And I have seen it, right? And so
Was it my client?
No. I think I did use your client as an example, but it was someone else's. It was about not disclosing that there were hawks of building on a golf course or something like that. Yeah. So that, I mean, that's why, it's good to get in person. It's good to be, make the time to come out too, because the more you learn, the more confident you'll be because you have information. I mean, I'm not a big like slogan person. I'm having a bad internet connection. Okay. I'm not a big slogan person, but they do say that information and knowledge leads to confidence. Right. And then confidence leads to productivity and just more efficiency. So the more you learn about things, I mean, did you know in Northern California, there are no one owns private beaches. There is no such thing as a private beach. You do not own the water. You do not own the beach. If you own a house on the beach, wherever the water can touch, you do not own. So even if there's the water level increases, you don't own it. Yeah. There's people that fence off their area in North Lake Tahoe on the California side. Nope, you do not own that. You can own the dock. Well, I think they say if you put a dock on, it cannot be private, but that's where it gets really weird. Yeah. I learned that at just some random meeting. I was like, well, that's interesting. And then I think I remember meeting with a client one time who asked me about it. And I said, well, did you know? So, and the loan stuff is great. So I think that's going to be huge for a lot of us, is being able to have these account executives come. I mean, there's some wild loans out there. I mean, stuff where I'm like, whoa, that's for such a specific person. But then when you're talking to that specific person, like there's a loan specifically for like servers or seasonal workers, where essentially you just send a work if they don't always claim all of their tips on their taxes, well, if their employer typically knows how much they make, the employer can just sign off and say, yeah, they make this much per hour. They don't have to specify what's tips and what's regular. They just say, yeah, they make this much, or actually it's per week. Yes, they make this much per week, and then we can count the income. We don't have to get any other proof of that. It's a costly loan, but I know people in Vegas who make a lot. I mean, don't claim anything on their taxes. I know, all
my
kinds of.
esthetician, she always asks me to pay by cash. I'm like, oh, you're not claiming your tax.
Yeah. And so and that's the thing, is you could have someone talk to someone like that and say, okay, but if you work for someone and you're making that amount of money, we can actually still help you buy a house, even though you're not. And just even having that conversation, because even though that person might hear that and say, oh, I'm still not going to buy a house because I spend every money I ever make. I have no money whatsoever. And I can barely handle anything, whatever the situation is, they still will look at you as, whoa, this person knows a lot. And then obviously tell someone. And that just becomes a brand, right? Your brand still has to include, things about real estate, right? For the sake of this class.
Another good one I learned recently, I think it was the same permits and buildings class, which I really liked, was about insurance. And that's a really good thing to know too, in this, especially in this area, like fire insurance and all that stuff. And they were talking about, I'm going to follow up and just talk to somebody and see if it's totally true with all the insurance companies, but that if you don't have your building permitted, that insurance won't cover it.
Very true. Absolutely.
Which is huge.
Because they're blaming that it was your fault. You didn't do it up to code, is what they say.
Mm-hmm. And they say they're really cracking down on it too. They say people are building $1 million homes and not getting permits, and it's super expensive. Like you get a fine if they find out, and then you have to go back and refix everything, and they have to inspect everything and see what's behind
it. Tear the whole building down.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
wow.
Super risky.
And pay back taxes for added square footage.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that you didn't get permitted.
Ooh.
Yeah, the thing is too, and it's no one in our brokerage right now, but I've heard this in the past when I've worked at other companies, is people will get frustrated, right? And they're like, I'm frustrated that I didn't know that. Well, how can I know? Like, how do I know that? I feel like I'm just not, I don't know, this kind of stuff, and I should know it. It's like, well, things constantly change. So
there's so much to know.
There's so much to know, and things change. Like it used to be, you got your homeowner's insurance, it was approved, you submitted it to the bank requests the information from the insurance company, blah, blah, blah. You close, your insurance is getting paid through by the lender. Well, now over the last 2 years, honestly, or a year and a half, insurance companies have been doing a visual inspection, a drive-by, right after you, maybe a week or so after you close. Because I've had clients say, hey, I get this weird car driving by my house with these like kids taking pictures of my house. And they told me that it was for an appraisal, but we already had the appraisal. It was for the inspection, and they saw that there was moss on the roof, cancel their insurance. Now you're uninsured. So
Cancel you for moss on your roof?
moss on your roof is this big thing now. So
Why?
if you get an inspection, they're like, oh yeah, clean the moss off the roof. No, we're
Why?
cleaning the moss off the roof before we close. They're saying that because when water hits it, it causes corrosion. It's just going to leak in the roof.
Oh,
But the thing that drives me crazy is that they do it after the fact, because there's a lot of issues with that, because the lender requires you have homeowners insurance. They can do, that's a whole other conversation, right? This is just stuff for the sake of this, that it's like, when you learn about it, feel free to comment on Discord. Feel free to come in the office and share it with people. Don't just come in and talk everyone's ear off. But I think everyone in our industry is like desperate for social media content. They're like, I don't know what to say on a video. I don't know what to post about. Anything you learn that you're like, oh, that's cool, that's what you should be posting about, because that becomes your brand. And then the brand awareness is where we say, hey, invite people to our happy hour that we're going to do. We're not going to do it next week. We're going to do it the week after, because we got a lot to do. Here. Yeah. But yeah, so, when you invite people to this stuff and you're inviting them on social media, they're seeing what you're posting and they're seeing like who you are, everything about you. So it's good to be able to set up that brand, right? Plus, when you're connecting with people, and you pick a specific industry to be connecting with. Like I talked to this loan officer who he might be joining, but he really specializes in veteran loans. Like he does a really good job with veteran loans, specifically one-time close new construction loans. He does them all over the nation. And he just posted a lot of videos about it. He's a veteran. His brand is all about that. Of course, does he do other loans? Absolutely. But that's kind of more the niche for brand awareness and branding purposes. So your brand should be a niche, even though you're willing to do all this other stuff. Like most of you would probably not pass up a commercial client if you had some help, because money is money, right? Especially in our industry, it's the same license. Our errors and emissions insurance covers that as well. But that's not necessarily what you're branding and what you're telling people that you specialize in, right? Anyone else want to share anything? The other thing I was just going to
excited
say,
about the media room.
yeah, me too. The other thing I was going to say too is, yeah, going on social media, I would just audit yourself, and see what do people see when they type in your name? Like, what's your profile picture? Does it look professional? What's the content on there? And I would just filter. None of you do anything inappropriate, but I would say that there are quite a few realtors in our own area, I'm specifically talking about females, that will post things and I'm like, whoa, this is not Selling Sunset, which is a TV show. And so just be very careful about what clients, because what else is that saying about your brand other than what type of clients you're trying to attract? But I would just say, if your social media is private, no one's going to be able to find you, and you want people to be able to find you. There's not going to be a lot of weirdos. Every once in a while, there's some weirdos. Even I get those weird guys that message me and send things, but for the most part, you just hit block and call it a day. So, but I would do an audit of like your LinkedIn. Whenever I've gone to refer someone, an agent in another state, I look them up on Instagram or Zillow. Usually I start with Zillow or Realtor.com, and I just look at their profile and I click on their website. And if it says that they work at Coldwell Banker and I click on their website and it takes me to Keller Williams, you couldn't take the time to change the website link on like the most major website, right, where people come to find agents and do stuff. Like, and then I go on social media and I look at kind of what they're all about. And I've seen some ones, like I referred my brother an agent in Colorado, and I saw a couple of people that were, and they're posting some like hate speech, political stuff. I'm like, okay, no. And so just, yeah, I would just be very cautious of that. But I mean, that's how I would filter. And honestly, every time I've referred one of those agents where I felt like, okay, they've at least put some effort into this, I get good reviews from my clients when I refer them. Like, I love that person. Thank you so much. They were the absolute best. Yeah. All right. Well, that's it, everyone. Thanks for chiming in. Hopefully we'll see you all soon.
See you
Yep.
tomorrow.